It is 3 p.m. Thursday here in Seoul. Hello and welcome to Arirang News. I'm Noadam. Thank you as always for tuning in. Now, today is the first day that all travellers entering South Korea from abroad have to undergo special entry procedures aimed at stemming the spread of the coronavirus. Previously, the measures were only applied to those arriving from China, Japan, Iran and European countries. But as the number of confirmed cases and people showing symptoms has increased among recent arrivals, the screening is being applied to all overseas arrivals. The procedure includes filling out a health questionnaire and providing contact and accommodation information in South Korea. Entrants will also go through body temperature checks. They must also download a self-diagnosis mobile application and use it to submit their health conditions every day for 2 weeks. 74 South Korean nationals and 6 of their Iranian family members are being evacuated to South Korea on a chartered flight. Seoul's foreign ministry says they were first flown from Tehran to Dubai on an Iranian plane. They then took off on a South Korean chartered flight at around 8 a.m. Korea time on Thursday. The group were expected to arrive at Incheon International Airport this afternoon. Upon arrival, they'll head to a state-run facility for about 2 days for COVID-19 testing. If the evacuees test negative, they'll be able to go home for self-isolation. There have been 17,000 coronavirus cases and over 1,100 deaths reported in Iran. Now, South Korean stocks have taken yet another battering amid coronavirus fears. Trading curbs had to be activated twice earlier today through circuit breakers and sidecars on both the benchmark Kospi and secondary Kosdaq as stock and future prices took a tumble during midday trading. The drop came following another day of turmoil on Wall Street on Wednesday, where the Dow Jones fell to levels seen at the start of Donald Trump's presidency. Our Kim Bo-kyung has more.
As the spread of COVID-19 continues to pick up steam worldwide and confirmed global cases top 200,000, Wednesday was another day of severe bloodletting on financial markets. Despite the Federal Reserve's efforts to bolster the U.S. economy, uncertainty over the Trump administration's stimulus measures and their ability to counter the outbreak's economic fallout caused stocks to freefall again. The Dow ended Wednesday's session more than 1,300 points lower to close below the 20,000 mark for the first time in 3 years. The S&P 500 tanked 5.1% and the Nasdaq was down 4.7%. The circuit breaker was activated on the S&P 500 for the 4th time in a week, halting trade for 15 minutes as the index tumbled 7%. An expert says the nosedive is due to demand shock as businesses and consumers are curtailing their activities or shutting down, and that this shrinking of demand will continue until the virus passes.
We need to watch the advance of the virus and indeed the point at which the virus stops peaking and begins to flatten that curve that we talk about. And the curve with the virus is very much correlated to economic activity and ultimately the performance of financial markets.
Later in the day, the New York Stock Exchange said it will be shutting down its trading floor temporarily from Monday. It's moving to electronic trading as 2 people tested positive on Wednesday at COVID-19 screening centers set up at the exchange. It will be the first time that the New York Stock Exchange will be trader-free since the September 11th attacks in 2001. Across the Atlantic, markets in Europe were also in the red. Germany stocks closed 5.56% lower to 8,441, while France's CAC 40 slumped almost 6% to 3,754. The UK's FTSE 100 fell more than 4%, finishing the day at 5,080. Oil dropped too as pandemic fears sapped demand for crude amid fears of a global recession. Brent crude dropped 8.6% to just over $26. WTI slid over 17% to settle at $22.35 a barrel. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea has confirmed 152 new cases of COVID-19 on Thursday. This is the first time in 5 days that the number of cases has topped 100. This also brings the total number of confirmed cases to more than 8,500 as health authorities remain on high alert over cluster infections nationwide. Of the latest cases, 97 were reported in Daegu and 12 in Gyeongsang-gukdo province. Seoul saw 12 additional cases, and the total number of imported virus cases rose to 16. With 7 more deaths reported, the country's death toll now stands at least 91. Elsewhere now, and with Europe becoming the new epicenter of COVID-19, the region now has more confirmed cases than China, the origin of the virus. Now, as Europe fights the pandemic, Germany's chancellor has called the situation the biggest challenge since World War II. Kim Yo-sun reports.
Europe has surpassed mainland China in terms of the number of coronavirus infections. As of Wednesday, the number of cases within Europe stood at nearly 88,000, exceeding that of China, which amounts to some 81,000. Europe has also reported over 4,000 deaths, more than China's 3,200. Italy's fatalities alone stood at over 2,900, and the country has 35,000 confirmed cases so far. Over 10,000 infections have been confirmed in Spain and Germany, which also saw a rapid increase in the death toll. In an effort to curb the further spread of the virus, many European nations are putting in place stronger measures. The UK ordered schools to close across the country starting Friday, while Germany announced it will temporarily halt its refugee intake programs. This comes as German Chancellor Angela Merkel made a televised address to the nation Wednesday night, describing the pandemic as the biggest challenge the country has faced since the Second World War.
It is serious, take it seriously. Not since German reunification, no. Not since World War II has there been such a challenge to our country that so much relies on our universal solidarity.
Merkel also told the German public that the government is doing everything it can to minimize the economic pain inflicted by COVID-19. She stressed that the public needs to accept the current restrictions put in place and show a sense of close solidarity. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
A UN labour body has warned that the coronavirus outbreak could cause up to 25 million job losses worldwide. The International Labour Organization warned that the economic fallout from COVID-19 will end up pushing millions of people into unemployment, underemployment and working poverty. However, the organization said if countries come up with a coordinated, large-scale policy to protect workers and stimulate employment, the negative impact on the global job market could be a lot less. It added that the outbreak is no longer just a health crisis, but a major crisis for the global labor market as well as the economy. The World Health Organization is calling on other countries to follow in the footsteps of South Korea when it comes to fighting the COVID-19 outbreak. The head of the agency says the latest decline in infections in South Korea was due to the nation's innovative testing and the distribution of protective face masks. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Over the past few weeks, foreign media outlets have praised the way South Korea has fought back against COVID-19 and flattened its curve in relation to the number of confirmed patients and deaths, despite at one point having the highest numbers outside of mainland China. The World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus praised South Korea's measures on Wednesday, calling on other countries to follow in its footsteps. He especially thanked South Korea over its unwillingness to give up when it was at the peak of the outbreak a month ago, saying the nation came up with innovative testing methods and even helped distribute face masks to its citizens. He added the nation was able to track each person who came into contact with a confirmed patient, test them, and quickly quarantine them before the virus spread further. While South Korea is starting to see a sharp decline in the number of infections, other parts of the world are struggling to contain huge spikes in cases. The WHO chief called on these countries to follow what was done by South Korea and other countries who have successfully fought the virus and apply it themselves. He remained optimistic that a vaccine could be on its way, as a number of countries are now sharing information among each other. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The Japanese government is launching a drive-through COVID-19 testing system similar to those in South Korea. Japanese media outlets report that Nagoya City will set up the drive-through testing site and test nearly 50 workers from an elderly daycare center. The city said the new approach will make COVID-19 testing quicker and less risky. As of Thursday, the city has confirmed a total of nearly 100 coronavirus cases, which is the second largest cluster in Japan. Now, since the coronavirus outbreak, workers have been working remotely from home using the latest digital tools. Given the convenience it offers over long and often exhausting trips to and from work, experts say it's a trend that could outlast the virus. Our Arirang reports.
Kang Da-som is a Seoul-based communication specialist. She usually works in an office, but due to the coronavirus outbreak, she's telecommuting for the time being.
My schedule looks the same as work from home, starts from 9 and ends at 6. Only the difference is getting up later and eating dinner a little earlier.
Using KT Corporation's high-tech digital solutions, Kang communicates with her colleagues at KT, files paperwork and holds video meetings.
But we also can make presentation, take notes, and share documents. These tools make us feel like we are at the same room for the meeting.
A growing number of companies in South Korea, like KT, have adopted remote work systems to promote social distancing in light of the outbreak. But looking beyond the COVID-19 outbreak, working from home might just become a lasting change to Korea's corporate culture.
Korean corporate world has notoriety in a way, or a reputation of having very hierarchic and centralized chain of command and communication system, meaning that members of Korean organizations, whether corporations or public organizations, they tend to spend a lot of time reporting to their superiors.
A survey shows nearly 50% of people find remote work efficient, mostly due to the lack of commute time, unnecessary meetings, and other menial tasks. A third think remote work is inefficient, citing distractions and difficulties in reporting. Many of that group are senior-level managers. But as the younger generation graduates to senior-level positions, Professor Kim says telework is unlikely to be a short-lived trend. If anything, the abundance of new technology hitting the market is a clear indicator that it's here to stay.
You know, the different kind of apps and businesses that allow you to have more productive time and more enjoyable time at home while working, definitely we'll have to bet on that side as well for future investment.
The government plans to offer small and mid-sized firms up to $16,000 to set up remote work equipment and software. It will also invest some $2 million into developing 5G virtual reality and hologram conferencing apps to further support work from home. Arirang, Arirang News.
In other news, the marriage rate in South Korea last year dropped to a record low. According to Statistics Korea, some 239,000 couples tied the knot in 2019. That's just 4.7 marriages for every 1,000 people. That's the lowest number of marriages and lowest rate of marriages since records began in 1970. The number of marriages in South Korea has been on a downward slide for the last 8 years. The number of divorces, meanwhile, last year increased 2% on year to some 110,000. The average life expectancy of North Koreans born in 2020 is 71.6 years, putting the nation at 161st out of 228 countries. South Korea came in at 15th with an average life expectancy of 82.6 years. According to data posted on the CIA's online World Factbook on Thursday, a North Korean male born this year is expected to live an average of 67.7 years, while the average female life expectancy is 75.6 years. The data estimates the population of North Korea to be 25.6 million this year, with the average number of children per woman in the country estimated at 1.92. OK, that is all the news that we have for you at this hour. Join us again at 5 p.m. for more Arirang news. Until then, goodbye.